Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and today we're going to be taking a look at the unaired underdog battles from Deep and Dop. Now, I do feel that we have seen a lot from them just a couple of times in the battles, but it's really cool that we're able to see everything that wasn't aired. Downside of this though is that the battles are split up based on teams, not based on who they're against. So some of these I may have seen who their opponent was, but a little bit ago versus right in this real time. So it would be difficult for me to figure out who I thought would win. So I'm just going to be analyzing each individual person based on their set for that particular instance, and then just kind of go in general of how I feel as the crew as a whole, how I feel they would have done just in the freestyle realm in comparison to whenever they do choreography. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we got Mina Myung first. I feel like so she's hitting some interesting grooves. She's kind of hitting them up every other here. Yeah, I feel like she's making some pretty typical groove choices, but there's not a lot of density or complexity in between the choices that she's making. I mean, I would say this is the most complex thing she's trying to do. Yeah, I would say for that one, I don't know if that was that strong, honestly. It feels like her essence is really nice, you know. I think she did wait a little too long to get started here, you know, so she's, you know, kind of setting it up, getting it to where it needs to be. You know, it takes about good 2-8 counts to get where it needs to go. You know, I like that kind of heel toe variation that she did with these pushing and pulling of her arms, but I will say kind of having her go from one side to the other, I wish that she made different choices in how to go about doing it outside of just hitting a very simple groove to polyrhythmicize it. I will say how she's approaching. I feel that because she's already used up so much time setting up her set, I think just her approaching, not really doing anything that's showstopper-esque, and that's another thing just in this set. There really wasn't anything that really caught my eye in comparison whenever we would watch Yoonji or when we watch Waxy, you know. So I feel that this is a bit underwhelming. I mean, she's holding the vibe well, but there's nothing that is left to be desired. Like, her flow's good to a degree, you know. I like the setup with a slight thread here, but I want us to just take a note that it's not super seamless. She's kind of cutting it off to come right back up, to get in her face again. You know, it's just like boom, boom. She's writing typical rhythmic patterns here as well. That was nice, kind of the push through with the kicks here, you know. And, you know, she kind of just, like, on the word freak, she kind of just does a freaky move, right? You know, and then she pops up just a little bit here, you know, but also know though with waving, a really big thing is you want to make sure everything flows well, right? So here, do I feel that the patterns that she's choosing to integrate in her waving are practical for what she's doing? I feel like some of it is, but it's kind of average execution, if I'm being honest. I kind of wish that she does have some clean lines, but it just goes back to it is a bit simpler. Whenever you're going to integrate a particular technique, you want to make sure that there's ebbs and flows within it. You don't want to keep it stagnant to what you're trying to maintain. So I feel all in all, was this an expected run? Yeah, it kind of was. I know that we saw her with Leah Kim. I think that was the only instance where I did see her battle. So that was my first taste outside of Leah. I think that this was better than what she did with Leah. So now going into this battle, I'm curious. I don't know who she's against, but curious what she decides to do here. Oh, this is the Leah Kim battle. So she does a lot of this here, so I will say her flow here is very different, which is good, but I did already do this battle, so I'm gonna kind of just give my thoughts as we talk, and then we'll move on from it. you know, but I do feel she is matching her music better here, which is impressive. But I will say a lot of it stems from, I said in the other video, I'm not a huge fan of what she did there. You know, she's hitting very basic grooves, her walks, and just kind of the rhythm patterns she's trying to do. I like that sequence. I can tell this isn't her style, but she's really trying to like show this performance, you know, in a sense where she wants to come across as intimidating, like I just smashed that, but I don't, like, being very honest, I don't feel like her freestyles kind of equate to the level of bluff that she's trying to give, right? I do feel that there are some others that we've noticed throughout that really showcase or like, huh, come after me, but that person went after them very, and kind of gave them a little bit of a humility dose, right? But I will say in that case, I did say that I felt that Mina held her own more during the Leah Kim Mina battle, but go check it out. Whenever, if you get a chance to, I'll try to attach it here in the description of my thoughts on that battle in particular, but we'll kind of just leave that as is here. I will say it is different than what she did before, and out of the two, I think I liked her first one that I saw in this video more out of the two. So, this is our next dancer, Sol. I feel like this is the battle she did with Audrey. I didn't have a chance to see her uncut, so this will be interesting. Do with that dessert. Here we go. Very simple here. She's kind of trying to get in her face, but she's approaching it very simply. Yeah, so she's doing things on both sides, which of course I've already mentioned in other things. She's hitting things on both sides, trying to fill up her time, but it's not complex. So you're really leaving a lot of room for somebody to come in and captivate a musicality, come in and captivate through other means outside of just the flow that you're trying to set up here. Yeah. Okay, so for that, I will say so far, I mean, who I've seen from Deep and Dop, I mean, they're leaving a lot to be desired here. They're really showing their colors of them not being a freestyle crew, which we all knew that from the get-go, you know, and do with that dessert. Just watch here, like whenever I count it, she's gonna be doing grooves on both sides. Watch, 1, 2, 3, 4. So she goes do da do da dee da boo da do da, right? So she's hitting single, triple. Then she goes single, and then she rides that same layer again. So you want to be wary of that. You don't want to be chilling on a layer of your music too long, because that also shows that you're not exploring the music. And I think that's a really big thing in freestyle, is not only are you supposed to be exploring the movements and techniques that reside within kind of what the style of song calls for, but you also have to take into consideration the fluency of what is offered in the music, and you want to try to touch on all of it in a very intriguing way, or that demonstrates you as an artist. So I know a lot of these choreographers are able to do that in their choreography, but it is something that does take time and practice. Speaking to the choir here, it takes a lot of practice to be able to understand how to explore without having to micro choreograph or micro plan everything. So what she's doing here, it's, you know, she's moving until she can think about what the next move is going to be, and then she rides it out until she can think of something else. And that's how you get that kind of repetitive groove-esque nature about these. And repeating grooves isn't the problem. It's, you can tell it is a problem whenever they're not hitting different parts of the music, so they're not actively using that groove and integrating it to make it more complex with your music. It's about balance. It's okay if you do simple things, but you have to have something else that's complex to make that very simple thing justifiable. And I just don't think she did that here, because she's hitting all the grooves on both sides on the same part of the music. And she's trying to get in Audrey's face and be like, what are you going to do? You know, and I don't know if this was the first time Audrey went. I did go over this battle, and I focused mostly on Audrey because hers was the least cut. But I will say, just based on the excerpts and the cuts that they had for her, and I know she's kind of touching her and everything, like she's doing these these basic Top Rocks kick steps, you know, kick step back. You know, I like that doom doom, that kind of drop there, which is really nice. So she's making some good choices, but she's hitting the same parts of the music a little too long, even though she's making different technique choices. There's so much that you can do with this music. And look, she's even doing those kick-step touches again, like verbatim on the same part of the music. And that's kind of like a, you want to avoid doing that, especially if you're really wanting to one-up somebody. She's also integrating into her waves, and she's not really finishing out, you know. So I will say that one is definitely, it was an underwhelming one as well. It was average, but anything that made me go, whoa, that was amazing. Okay, here we go. I don't think I've seen Locker Z, that's what it is, right? I'm curious how she's doing, how she's gonna do her locks. Fun! I love that pattern. Oh, so she is picking some simple grooves through, but I like that. I love with those knocks were good.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Okay, I really like Locker Z's choices here. That was fun. Let's go back and take a look. So I will say, whenever I see lockers, and like for me, the most locker-esque influential people that I know that are still very active would be Hilty and Bosch for me. I've taken one of their classes before. I've seen them in person. I've watched them on, I believe I saw some excerpts of them on the Street Dance China, right, on one of the seasons. They're phenomenal. I love what they do. So I'm used to like seeing that type of locking done in a choreographic sense, as well as freestyle when they battle, when I have seen them battle. So that's kind of like my true scope in locking for myself. And of course, I've seen Don Campbell lock some of his excerpts from Soul Train, as well as some other people that have been within the era when locking was really relevant there. Yeah, so just kind of seems that she's hitting. I love this pattern whenever she swings her arms, just super fun. Yeah, she goes swing, ding, ding, ding. Like, that was really cute. I will say a lot of her movement, like, that was fun. Ding, 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 ding. I will be surprised, though, if that wasn't something that she has done in choreography before, and it was just a muscle memory base sequence, because I do use those a lot as well for myself. She is using a lot of this particular kind of wrist roll, so I would heed caution to her to at least try to figure out a different way to do that, or not use it as often so close together for what she's already been doing. So that was fun, you know. So notice too that she kind of hit that Charleston twice to the front and twice to the back. I feel like she's also demonstrating a little bit of not being very freestyle heavy in her training as much as I feel like it may have used to be, you know. I feel like choreography is more of a forefront for her, because she is trying to channel in some choreographic skill sets into the freestyle realm, which makes it look like she's just trying to do stuff until she can think of other things to do with the music. I like that body roll there. And it's just, honestly, for me, it's whenever somebody hits something for 4, we ain't gonna stop the night, you know, just hitting the same thing. It's just movement. I like that. That was a nice sequence, going up, middle, down. Middle was fun, and then she uses it to kind of jam it out. I love this sequence going down to the floor in that W, into the split and the turn. That was kind of fun. Paid subtle nuance to Vessi, which was really cool, because that was who her competitor was. I really enjoyed her set here. I'm curious, I'm hopeful that as we continue on, I see her go again to see if she repeats. Here we go. Here she is again. Oh, that's right, because they did like a rematch or something like that. This is a fun song. Let's see.
Go.
She set it up, taking a little too long in her setup. Love this. So this was fun. I like the complexity that she's demonstrating. That was fun. That was fun. I love that. That was cute. Love bump, bump. Okay, I think that was much stronger because she showed more complexity in her phrases. Let's just take a slight little look here. So her setup, I feel, was a little tad bit too long. I think that's just something I've noticed. Whenever somebody's really getting in the groove of the song, I honestly, they're probably waiting for a particular part to drop or like the beat to drop. And I feel that's just something that, if your DJ, here's the thing, DJ can do what they want with their track. If their drop never comes, what are you gonna do? Just walk around and wait for it? You know what I mean? Now I know in this case, they're kind of, it's more predictable of knowing when things are gonna hit because the songs are more pertain to their styles, which is awesome. But I do wish that a lot of these dancers, especially just what I've noticed from Deep and Dot specifically, I wish that they wouldn't just wait around until the beat to drop out of convenience. I really wish that they integrated into themselves into the music in a really interesting way outside of just waiting for the beat to drop and just being because it's going to set my expectations a little bit higher than they should be for what to expect from them because they're waiting. So that means I'm waiting, which means that I'm waiting for them. What are you going to do that's going to be such a showstopper that I had to wait for? Does that make sense? So I think that's my only negative thing about this. I love that. I love the sync into that, but also you notice she does this kind of center split later on facing the judges. So that's just something. I love that. That was fun. That is difficult to do well. I love that. Bringing it back. The kicks was fun. That was fun. The switch through. And look, she goes in the center and she does more of a shoulder ISO. She's already done that though. And then she slows it down. I kind of wish she would have made a different choice there because it took up too much time, in my personal opinion. This was a fun sequence that she did. So she went boom, boom. I wish she did something at the third one so it's not just hitting the same thing 3 times. I feel like I'm a broken record. If you're watching these in marathon, my apologies. I love the points. She already did that as well. So whenever a lot of these are, she's doing a lot of fundamentals here. I mean, have I learned these fundamentals? Yes. Can I recall the names? Not with 100% confidence that I'm going to say it correctly. I know that she just did a Scooby-Doo variation. I know that, and I know there's, I don't think it's called, it's not a switcheroo. It's just, they are called, these are very fundamental sequences that she's doing, and I just feel bad that I can't recall them at the top of my head here. I have some learning to do, of course, some review for myself. But she's repeating a lot of these, you know, going a muscle man with the wrist rolls and Tom and Jerry, you know. There is a way to do those things that are very familiar and do them in such a way that it's going to be captivating as well as showing you as an artist. And that was what Dawn Camelot really wanted people to do, is for them to feel themselves. Do I feel like this is herself? I feel like some nuances, yes, but do I feel like she is just doing her fundamentals that she's trained herself to do? A little bit more that. So, I mean, those are little moments here, like, you know, just having a little foot. I love those moments. This right here looked the most like her. That looked I wish she kind of carried that essence throughout her whole set here, and I feel like I would have really enjoyed it a lot more, and it would have looked more like her. So that was my big note for that. Okay. JJ, right? JJ. Okay. Here we go. Boom, boom. I feel like she's taking more. I mean, that was nice. But I want you, do you just notice though that a lot of these dancers are kind of blending in with how they're choosing to do their freestyles? It feels so like their pocket is really predictable. Like that was nice. But this pattern of how they're freestyling, I think that's what I want to know, is the pattern in which they're choosing to freestyle is so predictable. And it just screams, I don't do this normally, and I'm just trying to get through, and I'm trying to one-up you because I like this song, or because I think my ego or my vibe is bigger. Not really ego, vibe more so. Not that bounce off, like this was great. Not what your mama said, like that was fine. But she goes step, pas de bout, step, pas de bout. Like, she already did simplistic things in that first phrase, so she needs to take a more different approach than just the groove to each side. I feel like that's such a pattern that everybody's doing that doesn't freestyle regularly. It really, I feel like I keep just seeing the same thing in different variations, which is unfortunate. You know, do I think that some of them are exuding their own essence or their own style? Yeah, but that doesn't ignore the fact that the longer these battles go on, the less I'm going to be inclined to get engaged in what you're doing, because you're hitting things like everybody else, and that's not the point. You know what I mean? So I say that for this, like, those hits are really nice and that thing, but also whenever she slides, you know, we don't have time for that because you already spent time hyping it up in the very beginning. You know, so you go da da da. Like, everything is too readable, right? There's not a lot of spontaneity behind it. That's clear. I like that, but also no, she does it 3 times and then she brings it back in a 3-part sequence. So she goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, because it matches the, you know? So I just feel like I think the more that they do these grooves, the more it's like kind of tempting me to really scrutinize how they're executing the groove. Do you know what I mean? That's not what this should be. This shouldn't be like a drill like a technique drill session, right? So I feel that, yeah, so even there, like, she's hitting boom, 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 boom. She's hitting it very predictably, right? And then she's bleeding out of it, and she's kind of staying there a little too long, and, you know, because she's not changing her direction, she's not lowering herself, she's changing texture, yes, so I'll give her that. I think she's making great texture choices, but do I think it's really limiting in the grooves that she's doing that she could do textures with? Yes. So, you know, even with the kicks here, so she's still, it just feels very cookie cutter freestyle. It didn't look like her. It just looked like a hyped up version of choreo that she's about to get into choreo and she's just having to freestyle before and after it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what a lot of these people, that's their scope of freestyle. So I just think that with this particular group, I don't know if it's because the timing in which I'm reviewing them or if it stems from just them in particular, because it's going back to back to back and I just keep seeing it. But there's a lot of predictability and a lot of average execution of things, but a lot of ego or a lot of hypeness, not really ego, like a lot of showing my bluff, but I really feel like it's just not matching the level of complexity that you should be bringing to the table if you're going to have that kind of essence. A good example is Wolflow. Wolflow has every low-key right to be like, what you gonna do? Because they've proven themselves already from what I've seen, not even getting to their group video yet, right? Like just seeing their crew preview and just seeing how they chose to freestyle in their crew preview, as well as seeing them here. I feel that there's needs to be a balance with a lot of these crews, not just Deep and Dop. I feel like there's a couple others here that their ego's a little too big for their scope of what they're good at. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just like Wolflow, they got a pretty good ego on the freestyle, but with choreography, they got to be mindful too. That's not their wheelhouse. Just like 1 Mil freestyle, a lot of that, and Deep and Dop. A lot of that is not their wheelhouse, but choreography, especially K-pop choreo, at least with 1 Mil, that's definitely more in their forte. So it makes sense for them to have that kind of essence because they would be the quote-unquote group to beat. Do you know what I mean? And all these crews know that. So I just feel that I just would want them to be very mindful of they are not the big fish in the little pond here, like they could be in other circumstances. It's just my overall note, and I'm just noticing a lot with just their predictability and their freestyles. Okay, I saw her in the dancers rank. So she's matching the essence of Nicki Minaj here, but also it just feels like they're just trying to one-up each other in what you want to do, but they're not doing anything that is so enticing. You know, that was nice. She goes very full, which I noticed with her when she dances. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I think my big note for her, or I guess it kind of just clicked to me whenever I was watching her, because I was thinking through what I had just talked about with my previous dancer we analyzed together, was I just feel they do a technique, that's what it is. They do a technique, and then they change and start doing a completely different technique and completely disregard what they just did. So they do whacking, and then they go straight into ba, 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 and it just feels like content, and there's no connection and no flow in between them. And that's what I think the kicker is for this, because she actually demonstrated it very well here. Like, you know, the setup was nice, you know, she comes up. You know, I will say that she's kind of trying to get Leah Kim's face, but she's not, you know, it's stuff like that. I'm like, we're wasting so much time to do that when we should be showcasing who we are and let our moves speak and not what we think we're bringing to the table. Do you know what I mean? I think that's my kicker in this too. She comes up, she already hit something like that, so she kind of repeated herself here, you know, so she's hitting a lot of this kind of posture, which I think works against her the longer she does it. She is hunching over, accenting the hips. So she's matching. So she's already hit that bump, 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 bump. So this dance kill, like that doesn't hit as spontaneous as it could have been if she didn't hit what she hit earlier. So I think she could have hit it a little differently. And so she's melting too, which is, you know, it's good to match your music, but she's not melting in different ways, right? That she could. But like right there, do you notice she did that whole little whacking sequence, and then she goes straight into the da-da-da-da-da, like it's not da-da-da-da-do. Into it, like it just, she does it and then she goes straight into it. She doesn't actually finish out the essence of that whacking sequence. I think that's my point here. You know, and then she goes to something super strong, and then she goes there, she goes, wow, wow, wow. But she's hitting it like 1, 2, 3, 4, and da 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 da. It feels like she's doing choreography. Do you know what I'm saying? Like really hype intro choreo before the break happens. It really looks like that. Right, like automobile. Right. So she's not, it doesn't look like she's making these complex, I think I just sound like a broken record, I think, with this group in particular, so I apologize for that. But my overall thoughts with Deep and Dop specifically is I think I've said this in every video that I've done that features them in any way. They need to be mindful of how they come across in their ego, where they're like, we're here to win. Okay, we'll bring it. Because so far, even now, because I keep saying it, and I hate the fact that I'm still saying this, but it's true. I can't disregard the fact that it's disappointing. The fact that they're coming out here and they're like, they're gonna ignore their opponent. Okay, if you want to ignore your opponent, but you better show me why. But they don't. They match their opponent and maybe even do a couple things subpar to their opponent sometimes, right? And then their choreography we're running into the same problem. They have this ego of, I want to be known for this. Okay, that's fine, but you gotta show us that you care enough to want to do that, because what you're showing me is the cookie cutter typical that got you where you got, honestly. And I know that may sound super like inconsiderate, and I do feel a little bad about the fact that I'm just like, I feel like I'm just going in on them, but I really can't ignore that, of the fact that their freestyles were highly underwhelming in comparison to who's, you know, with their opponents, they also had a lot of work to do, but I really felt like there was some sense of individuality with them. But I feel here they just went big with their movements, but there wasn't anything that really left me being like, oh, I so remember what she did. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that you need to have in your freestyle skill set. So that's just my overall tone. I'm really hopeful, like I genuinely, out of all the crews, I really hope that they start bringing it a little bit more, in my humble opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. I did feel a little bit like a broken record for this group, and I do apologize for that. If you were like, gosh, Jessica, say something else besides that, I'm sorry. I'm definitely in a place where, with not just Deep and Dop, with a lot of these crews that we all know are not freestyle crews, I really wish that they approached this portion of the show with a little more tact in comparison to how they chose to go about it, because I feel like that would be a more true reflection, and I think I would feel more inept to go about it in a more gracious way. Do you know what I mean? But it's really hard to whenever they want to square up with the best of the best. Okay, well then I'm going to critique you as such, you know, and that's something that speaks volumes to this, and I'm really hopeful that they do become that in some way, shape, or form in the show. So thank you again, and I will check you later. Bye.